Hello. Passionate about sustainability, energy, and climate? You're in the right place. Welcome to Energetic. I'm Maureen Cornelis, and together we will engage with people who dedicate their lives to climate justice and making a just energy transition happen. They may be activists, scientists, policymakers, or other enthusiasts, just like you. Let their life stories and insights inspire you to build a better future for people and the planet. Welcome to this special episode of the Energetic podcast, recorded live at eWorld in Essen, Germany. Today, we're talking about a major shift in the European energy landscape, the Baltic synchronisation. On 8 February 2025, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania officially disconnected from Russia's Brel system, ending decades of dependence on Russian-controlled grid operations. In doing so, they joined the continental European network, fully integrating with the EU's electricity system. This was the result of 18 years of planning and 1.6 billion in investment, marking a decisive step in strengthening European energy independence. But the real impact will be measured in how it affects people's lives, energy bills, and long-term trust in the system. Because at the same time, disinformation is being used to undermine this transition. Russia has framed it as a risk, claiming it will lead to blackouts and soaring prices. While we know the reality is different, these narratives influence public perception. Managing expectations and keeping the public engaged will be as critical as managing grid stability. Earlier today, I was the only policy expert in the room for a panel discussion on this very topic. And while the technical experts covered the grid mechanics, market dynamics, and trading aspects, it became clear that the missing piece in many conversations in this particular puzzle is consumer trust and public accountability. And that's what we'll unpack today with my guest, Christoph Molzer, who was deeply involved in this process. As you listen, please keep asking yourself, what does energy security actually mean for the people paying their bills? Let's get into it.
Creativity is inventing, experimenting, growing, taking risks, breaking rules, making mistakes, and having fun. Few people embody this philosophy as seamlessly as Christoph Molzer, my guest today. With more than 15 years of experience in the energy sector, Christoph has navigated the sector with a blend of technical expertise, a lot of curiosity, and a touch of artistic flair. From implementing energy trading and risk management, ETRM, we will be talking about that today, softwares to exploring the British grid-scale battery space, his career has been a continuous experiment in pushing boundaries and adapting to a never-evolving energy landscape. Today, he's the business development manager at Navitasoft, and he's on a mission to enable flexible assets to stabilize the grid, reduce emissions and costs. His journey began with a master's degree in environmental system science from the University of Graz in Austria, coupled with an undergraduate background in electrical engineering. But over the years, he has taken roles spanning solution architecture, sales, and business development, working with leading companies in algo trading and battery storage technology. This is quite technical. But beyond, let's say, those very impressive technical credentials, Christoph is a creator at heart. Whether behind a camera lens, on stage as a trained actor, or even sewing his own trousers, he embraces learning by doing and always is ready to step outside his comfort zone. So, Christoph has a very inventive mindset, which is shaped by growing up on a farm, probably, and fueled by his approach to problem solving, making him quite a creative force in the energy transition. So we're going to explore Austria to the UK, from sales to system design, from engineering to the arts, because Christoph brings this very unique perspective to the energy world. And he's going to be here today with me in person to share his insights.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. And all these kind words about me. That's interesting to learn a third party outside view a bit.
Absolutely. I mean, I can not notice that you are wearing custom-made trousers, but that's a shame.
That's off the shelf.
Okay.
Tomorrow it will be different.
I won't be there tomorrow.
What a shame.
Oh, yeah. What a shame. Anyway, from engineering to business development, you have quite a unique path. You started your career implementing ETRM software and gradually transition into roles like solution architects, sales, and business development. You are quite an outsider compared to the people I usually have on the pod. So please tell me a little bit more about this evolution and really those kind of different positions.
Yeah, so I think back then it was a coincidence. So when I grew up, I learned a lot from my father. And somehow it happened that I also established some knowledge in electrical engineering. I think one of the causes was a neighbor back then had an old car he wanted to get rid of, and so my father took it for whatever reason. So I pulled out all the plugs, all the switches, and everything, and built my first own alarm system in my room. For one reason, I know when it was. So that was in primary school because I was very proud about it. And one of my friends from primary school on the last day of the school when we had the party, so being 10 years old, I happily introduced him to my alarm system in my room. So I think this is where the so more or less energy market thing or energy related topic started.
What was the reaction of your friend?
Well, I think he was impressed. I don't remember anymore in detail because it's a long time ago. But I did the so-called HTL, so which is secondary school with an engineering background, and I enjoyed it, and it was good. After some starting challenges in the first class, but first degree, but went to the basic military service after I graduated there, and I didn't really think what to do after it. So I thought about let's continue what I did before. So let's start electrical engineering at the university. But after a couple of weeks, I realized this is not something I'm going to do for the next couple of years or in my career. So that was a big drawback back then. And I figured out, okay, what's now? So I had one semester to figure out what to do next. And I thought about everything from languages to medicine to I don't know, I considered everything. But what came first was a photographic education, which found me. So I started the so-called Prague Photo College. Despite the name, it's based in Austria. And I spent many semesters and weeks learning photography. But back then I thought photography is not the thing where I would like to make a living out of it on the long run. So I started studying environmental systems sciences with the main focus on business administration for a long time. I graduated there many years later. I had a job in parallel as well in a master's degree, doing some consulting work for small businesses, improving their energy efficiency and also their environmental efficiency as a whole. And this, I think, was already kind of leading into my career now. But I noticed after 4 or 5 years with this company, I've learned everything what I could learn in this particular company. So this was a small firm. In this job back then, I met my now wife, and she is and was from Vienna, and my university was in Graz. And I noticed that sooner or later my time in Graz will end. And I enjoyed the time, it was great. But I also knew the majority of my friends will leave. So I was one of the first ones, and the others left as one. So moving to Vienna, I had to look for a new job. And nobody's really interested in a freshly graduated chap from the university. So I applied for more or less everything from automotive, which is another thing I'm liked in some periods of my life.
You dismantle the car.
Yeah. So I explored everything, applied for everything and anything. And it somehow happened that I ran into the company called back then IRM. And they were looking for someone doing consulting for ETRM, risk management, energy industry. Long story short, I had no idea what they were looking for.
Okay.
But I applied.
ETRM.
Yeah, energy trading and risk management. So I doubt that I knew that back then. But of course, back then, Googled every single word I didn't know from the announcement, from the job announcement. Long story short, I somehow made it to get the job. And that was a start in the energy industry. So not from an engineering point of view, or how to dismantle a car, or how to set up an alarm system in a room, rather than energy markets in terms of utilities buying power or gas for multi-million euros and then evaluating their risks and what comes together with this stuff. So this is, I think, somehow how the energy market found me.
Yeah.
Let's phrase it that way.
Yeah. So you found the energy market found you, but it was not enough. You needed some creative outlets.
The first years in that particular career, well, I did what I was told to do. And well, it was creative as well because my task back then was utilizing a standardized system and then somehow make the business processes from the clients fit. So this was somewhat creative as well. And again, something else found me, which was the Open Acting Academy in Vienna. And I started with this class. So how to breathe in the right way, how to talk in the right way, so that you can also sustain long conversations in a very noisy environment.
But you're not afraid of new experience or a sector that you don't really know, etc. So you worked in the battery space in the UK, a sector which has a huge potential, but also a lot of challenges. You left, and now you're also more in the AI and digital tools, etc. So you have really first-hand experience over many different things happening at once in the energy sector. And this could be kind of overwhelming for somebody without your, let's say, your cool and without your kind of creativity to kind of connect the dots.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, tell me. So sometimes I hate myself because doing too many things at the same time, thinking about this too many things at the same time, that is challenging. And the battery thing in Great Britain, in England, the company I work for, again, something what found me. And I'm always open to new challenges. So I don't like standstill. And I also learned not too long ago that if I do the same thing for 4 or more years, I get bored and then I need something new. Doesn't necessarily mean a new job. It could be a different role at the same company, for example. And once I'm happy with the quality of what I do or what I did, I lost interest. And the British battery thing, before I started that job, I made the experience the second time that the company I used to work for got acquired by somebody else, and then the fund stopped more or less, and then it was opened for something new. And at eWorld, where we are right now, I think 10 years ago, I met the guy who I'm in touch ever since. We were in touch very loosely over the years. And when he started at this British company, he told me, I'm going to start something renewable, something with batteries. And a week later, he came back, that could be something for you. Long story short, a couple of months later, I had my first remote job, being based in Austria, in Vienna, having a job working for a firm which is headquartered in Cambridge, UK, with an office in London as well. Turned out to be that I went to England, I think 26 times in 1.5 years. And so that was intense.
Yeah.
But I left. So coincidence, I think, is the common theme in my life so far.
Well, energy tech is really about the people who make the energy transition happen And you're touching very different innovations, ways of thinking. And we are recording this episode in the booth of Vitasoft, which is the company that you belong to now. We are in the middle of eWorld, which is this gigantic energy fair. A lot of discussions about energy tradings. I honestly understand only a fraction of the conversations I overhear, and that's totally okay because we are here to learn, right? Today we had these super interesting conversations about the Baltic grid's disconnection from Russia, which was also a topic that had flown under my radar. But you have been directly involved in it. And you even coordinated the conversation this morning. Can you tell us a little bit why this project matters? Why was Vitasoft and how were you involved in it? And what kind of lessons can you build out of it?
Well, my involvement was not that great not that big from the beginning. So it started 1 year ago when we met our now partner in this project at EVO. And then pre-qualification was before to state the tendering parties, we are capable of doing so. Tell us more what you need. So they don't do tenders by sending out their needs to everyone. And I was overlooking the tender process then on Vitasoft side.
Which is a company that builds softwares.
Which is a software that builds softwares.
Yeah.
And for the big picture here for the audience, the whole project disconnecting the Baltic countries from Russia is a 1.6 billion euro project, which is subsidized by the European Commission with 1.2 billion euros. And our share of that is kind of tiny. So a lot of transformer stations have had to be built and much more. And our part here is now on the so-called Baltic balancing capacity management. So with increasing renewable production in the power grid, that's the same for all over the planet, a renewable energy resource typically does not produce when you want it. It does produce when the sun is shining or the wind blows.
Yeah. So basically there is no electricity at night when you want to cook a warm meal.
Except there is a wind. Yeah. So, and this volatile production must be balanced by other resources which can jump in if the wind isn't blowing and or the sun is not shining. This is called the ancillary services market or capacity markets or balancing energy markets, or different names for the same thing in different countries.
Let's pause for a moment. We've gone into the technical aspects of balancing markets, capacity, and system operations. But let's bring this back to the bigger picture. Public trust. Households across the Baltic states are seeing headlines about price increases. And while the estimated impact is modest, around 50 cents to €1 per month, the way this is communicated matters. The worst thing that could happen is for people to feel that this transition was decided without considering their concerns. And this is exactly where Russia has focused its information efforts, spreading doubts about the stability and affordability of the new system. The challenge now is ensuring consistent, transparent communication so that people know what to expect and why this transition is ultimately in their best interest. The disinformation playbook is clear: seed doubt, exaggerate risk, and undermine public confidence. This morning, sitting around engineers, system operators, and market specialists, it struck me that these discussions are still missing the policy and consumer perspective. Technical success does not guarantee public confidence. If people don't trust the system, even the best designed project will face resistance. And this is where the real challenge begins. We can build the best infrastructure, integrate the best technology, and strengthen security. But if people don't trust the system, they won't support it. So how do we make sure the public remains on board? How do we prove that this transition works for them? That's the challenge ahead. Now, let's continue the conversation.
Vitasoft delivered this so-called PBCM, the Baltic Balancing Capacity Management Project, to enable the market participants who have the chance and who have the assets to produce when the sun is not shining or a wind is not blowing, to jump in.
Okay. And why did we have this conversation this morning?
This is very interesting because we are very proud that eVolt selected us to present something on one of their stages. So we had half hours last year where my colleague talked about the Ukrainian cybersecurity topic. And this year, again, eVolt sends out the call for paper asking all the exhibitors, if you have something you would like to share, pitch it to us and we will select. And we were very, very proud to get the half an hour presentation plus a 1 hour panel discussion, which is priceless because being able, well, it would be impossible to pay for that. And so we just got it for free. However, a lot of stress was involved in preparing all that stuff and then even the chair of disponents.
Which was the conversation about?
The panel discussion this morning was about the Brel disconnect. So the Brel is the former Belarusian, Russian, Estonian, Latvian, Lithuanian power grids. Why did the disconnect? So the connection from the power grid to the Russian system, that was there, I don't know, decades.
Yeah.
And it was
a legacy system.
A legacy system. It was formalized in 2001 because it was there. So there's the contracts. And it was always a burden for the Baltic countries to be connected to the Russian grid. And the physical power flows, they have stopped after the Ukrainian situation started. So there is no import or export if you calculate it on a monthly base or on a daily base, but for balancing, it was still necessary.
So let's get back to what balancing means. Basically, you have like the flows of, let's say, electricity coming into the grid, but you also have this kind of wave of plus or minus, etc. And you need it to be as even as possible. You need it to be as boring as possible.
Not as boring as possible.
No, not as boring as possible.
The power production must be exactly the same like the power consumption.
Yeah.
Every split second in time. And that's the challenge. And back in the days, it was kind of simple because utilities, they knew how much will be produced, will be consumed at a certain time. And they ramped up their power plants, their coal plants, their nuclear power plants, whatever, as they needed it. So with increasing renewable production, as we talked before, with a very fluctuating volatile productions, some other assets need to balance the grid. And with the very big Russian grid, it was rather simple because they run massive hydropower plants, massive nuclear power plants, whatever. It was rather simple. With the disconnection from the Russian grid, the Baltic states then had and will have an increasing demand of so-called balancing energy. So that's power assets which can jump in if there is a need.
Okay. So you worked on it, and really this kind of disconnection happened only a few days ago. And really the connection to the European grids, right?
Yeah.
So you asked me to participate in the panel as somebody bringing some kind of policy expertise. And you know what I learned really throughout the process is how really important this project was, because it delivers on a very important aspect of the energy transition, which is this energy trilemma, right? So the energy trilemma is balancing security, balancing sustainability, so renewable energy, and balancing also fair prices and affordability. And in a nutshell, for the time being, this Baltic synchronization looks like a case study, but because it worked really, really well, like a textbook example, making things happen. And you were a part of it.
Yeah. So then they cut the wires on Saturday. So morning last Saturday, they cut the wires, and the NSOE, which is the overarching organization for all the transmission system operators in Europe, they require any country or countries who join their common area, that they need to prove that they can balance their grid in a so-called island mode. So in the island mode,
Totally isolate.
totally isolated, no connections to other countries.
Yeah.
And they run some tests, and if the tests are good, or the results are good, then they can connect to the Central European synchronous area. And that's what happened on Sunday. So one day after the desynchronization and one day being in Ireland. So, okay. And there is, from an energy trilemma point of view, there is a discussion if the security of supply, if it's beneficial from my personal point of view. Because, well, there are this big hydropower plants in Russia. But this is just a physical security. What if someone thinks, okay, well, let's cut the wires, like cutting the Estonian interconnector between Finland and Estonia. So from an energy security point of view, it is beneficial.
Yeah.
From a sustainability point of view, now there is more need for renewables, which will drive investments into renewables, which will drive also investments into providing balancing energy or ancillary services. And from an affordability point of view, well, the independence, at least as it is forecast now, will increase the price of it, which is currently at some 15 euros per year per household. But it is a forecast, and a forecast is always wrong. But who knows?
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of the point I made this morning, really about the fact that we need to be sure that we keep a hand, policymakers, regulators, keep on addressing this uncertainty over the energy prices. It's extremely legitimate for people to be kind of worried about the supply of the security. Russia is extremely cumbersome, so it was quite easy to federate the population around the need to kind of break ties with Russia. But the cybersecurity is going to be a concern over some time. And the prices, the conversations, the narrative around prices, the way they are shaped, the way this innovation is delivered is going to be really massive over the years. And disinformation coming from Russia was addressing exactly those two points, right? Cybersecurity and security of supply and prices. They said completely weird numbers, menaced people with very high increases. But the idea is to make parties work together so that there is no strange price fluctuation over the months to come. So what did you take from the conversations this morning?
Well, I think it's probably a confirmation bias.
Yeah.
So energy trilemma, that's these topics, and then there were some price spikes in the ancillary services market recently. That's something which was kind of expected. So confirming what we and what the team kind of expected.
Yes.
It was my premier sharing a panel. So I think my personal take-home message is rather how to improve sharing a panel than the topic itself, to be totally fair.
Yeah, you try to bring some creativity into the panel. So that was pretty cool. But so Christoph, tell me a little bit more about your projects, your upcoming projects. Because just the fact that you decided to have this conversation, EWOS is not so much of a place where you have panels and discussions and policy discussions in this one. So you decided to bring this topic forward. And I think it's pretty cool. It's shaking things from these sides.
Yeah, it certainly does. And this is marketing which is priceless.
Yeah.
So leads and prospects came along the last couple of days and weeks because they noticed Navitosoft in presentations from the power grid operator, one of the Baltic TSO grid operator. And that's not something we can pay. So we will increase our business in the Baltic. We are already well present there.
Okay.
But now with this positive reaction from the markets, that's very good and beneficial for further marketing themes. And we had some inbound from companies I've never heard before. In other words, companies I could not have found. Yeah, that's a big thing for the company.
Yeah, because I mean, the whole business is about digitalizing energy, right? And you have like plenty of competitors. I have probably also worked and had guests around or your competitors. But yeah, I mean, you're interested in different of ways of doing things a little bit differently. So I will definitely put in the show notes some description of Levita software. But I think it's, yeah, I mean, you're doing many different things, right?
Yeah, if you can share some pictures from the stand in the show notes. So the outlet wall, that was designed by an artist because
so we go back to your artist.
I found it. I mean, I didn't do it, but I had the idea to find someone to get it done.
Yeah.
Because nothing is more boring than a PowerPoint on paper or on a wall of the stand at a trade show. And well, we need to stand out because, as I said, we have plenty of competition out there, and people need to remember what they've seen.
So, what are your next steps to make sure your business, the business you work for, is not boring, right? I mean, you're probably the first person in the show going explicitly say, and I totally agree. And I mean, you have this very nice analogy with energy being like an onion.
This is an analogy which my teammate Mike Holton told me years ago. So the energy market is like an onion. So you peel off one layer, you find another one, you find another one, find another one, and sooner or later you start crying. And this is fascinating because being in the industry now for 15 years, I realized 2 or 3 years ago how complex that is. I knew it was complex because everybody was saying that. But there was the energy crisis, so you might know about it. And there was a certain situation with an Austrian utility where many people, so many so-called experts were interviewed on TV. And it was impressive how much shit they stated, even though they are self-named experts. And that's when I realized what I know. And there is a very interesting effect, which is the Dunning-Kruger effect, the Mount Stupid. So this is when you learn a new topic, after what short time you think you know everything. And then the moment comes when you have reached Mount Stupid summit, I don't know anything about it. And it's exactly the same the other way around. So if you know a lot of the certain topic, when you don't know what you know.
Exactly.
And it's very important to know what he knows.
Yeah. You know, that's why I've been running this podcast for 4 years, because the more people I interviewed, of course, the more I know and I meet interesting people like you and so on. But also the more I realize how much there is for me to discover and to kind of also learn, because things are not done the same way everywhere, right? So, but I feel that this knowing a noise for you is quite a constant, right? Because I mean, you, as you said, you've been jumping from one topic to the other, all related to energy, but you've been jumping from different positions, companies, etc. It is, you want to have a 360-degree understanding of what is at stake, right?
Yeah, and sometimes I hate myself for wanting this, because sometimes it's overwhelming.
So where does this leave us? The Baltic synchronization is a strategic shift, one that strengthens European energy security and integration. But security isn't just about infrastructure. People need to see the benefits in their daily lives. That means keeping prices predictable, ensuring the stability of the supply, and pushing back against disinformation that threatens public trust. And this is a long-term commitment, not a one-time success. During the panel, I was the only one raising these questions. Energy policy cannot be left as an afterthought when the focus is on market structures and grid mechanics. And this transition must work for consumers as much as it does for the system. And that's the real lesson here. Trust is an infrastructure. If people trust the system, they will support it. If they don't, even the best designed projects can and will face resistance. The challenge now is to ensure that energy security doesn't come at the cost of affordability. That this transition delivers for people, not just markets. And that is the story of the Balkan synchronization. It isn't just about cutting ties with Russia, but about building a future that is fair, stable, and accessible to all. The next steps, the next months, will determine whether this remains a model for future transitions or a cautionary tale. The way policymakers, regulators, and market operators handle this transition will set the precedent for how Europe manages energy independence, affordability, and consumer trust. And that's the real test. Let's make sure we get this right.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Energetic. It's been a pleasure diving deep into the world of sustainability and the just energy transition with some of the most forward-thinking mouths out there. I'm Maureen Cornelis, your host from policy consultancy Next Energy Consumer, and it's been an incredible journey growing this podcast together with you, our knowledgeable and passionate listeners. Since 2021, we've shared countless stories, insights, and ideas over more than 40 episodes, and it's all thanks to your support and enthusiasm. If you enjoyed our journey so far and want to help us keep the conversation going, why not support us on Patreon? Every bit helps us bring more inspiring content your way. Check out the show notes for the link. And hey, if you're a part of an organization that shares our passion for a sustainable and inclusive energy future, we're excited to explore sponsorship opportunities with you. It's a fantastic way to connect with a dedicated audience and make an even bigger impact together. Shout out to the fantastic Igor Mihailovich from Podcast Media Factory for his incredible sound design work, making every episode a joy to listen to. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Energetic on your favorite podcast platform. And if you think a friend or a colleague could benefit from our episode, we'd love for you to spread the word. It helps us grow and keep the energy transition conversation alive. Sharing is caring. Follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn to stay engaged and update on all things energetic. Thanks once again for lending your ears. Until next time.